And the madness continues from Spokane. Already one upset in the books. And now the Jackrabbits out of South Dakota State look to join Hawaii in Sunday's round of 32. Winner of this one advances to take on the Rainbows, who pulled off an upset, knocking off Cal just moments ago. Hi, everyone. Alongside Doug Gottlieb, I'm Spiro Adidas. We'll hear from Rosgold on Wood A in just a couple of moments. So lay it out for us. How did the Jackrabbits pull it off?
Well, look, this is a team that's exceptionally skilled at the offensive end. So they're going to have to try and stretch out the immense size of the Maryland Terrapin team. They can do it, getting to the free throw line and making three-pointers.
This is a Jackrabbits team that has been to the dance now twice in the last 3 years. So look at our starting lineups. DeAndre Parks, the senior, and George Marshall, one of the top high school point guards out of the city of Chicago a couple of years back, Wisconsin transfer. And how does Melo Trimble get his game together? Tough shooting slump down the stretch of the season as he dealt with a hamstring injury. Take a look now behind the stats presented by LG.
Well, this is a Jackrabbit team. You see 6 comeback wins. You look at the points off the bench. That's because Mike Dahm, who's a redshirt freshman, has been their leading scorer for the year. So they're a versatile team. They can beat you with three-pointers. They can beat you with their defense, which is going to make you make shots over the top, and they're going to make you they're not going to beat themselves.
First ever meeting between Maryland and South Dakota State. Again, the winner of this one advances to take on Hawaii in the round of 32 on Sunday. Terps 25-8. At-large bid out of the Big Ten as Melo Trimble misfires from the perimeter. And that was one of the reasons why this team struggled. He had that hamstring injury. Kid who doesn't make excuses, but certainly not the season, Doug, that was expected of him after that monstrous freshman campaign last year.
And he had some games early in the season. I called their Cancun Classic championship where he was playing great. Played really well against North Carolina in a loss on the road in non-conference play. But over the last month, whether it's carrying the load of being a point guard, leader, and leading scorer, or whether it's bad shot selection or teams loading up against what Melo Trimble does so well, he has not shot the ball well, has not played all that well, and the team has struggled offensively because of it.
George Marshall misses the three for the Jackrabbits, and now the Terps with their second possession. This is Jake Lehman, the senior. What a season he had with Sheet Suleiman. Coming over from Duke, finds his spot. Good-looking mid-range Jay to get the Terps on the board first. This is a Maryland team that was 22-3 at one point, number 2 in the AP poll back in mid-February, and then something went wrong down the stretch as they lost 4 of their final 6 to end the regular season.
Sheet Suleiman, a little ball fake, one dribble, mid-range, splash. Suleiman, of course, started out his career at Duke. Mark Turgeon. We talked yesterday at length, both at practice and then via text, about what's been wrong with this team. He says, look, we want to be more effective, and we think by, at times, slowing the pace of the game. Instead of playing fast, instead of playing breakdown, getting the basketball inside, using our tremendous skill in the low post, take our time. We felt like at times they tried to speed up the tempo against the Big Ten, whereas other teams would slow them down and play brutally physical defense against them.
Second straight year Turgeon has brought the Terps into the tournament. 7th appearance of his career as he got them to 25 wins for a second straight season. Good looking cut from Trimble. Floater up and in for his first 2 points. Trimble trying to become the second Terp in the last 40 seasons to lead the team in points, assists, and steals. So even with some disappointing moments, that's how good he's been for this program in his 1 season plus. Outside 3 from Biddle off target. And the Jackrabbits still looking for their first points. This is a South Dakota State program that has become quietly one of the top mid-majors in the country in the last 5 years. A team that certainly feels like they belong. It's Jake Lehman on the 3. Carter trying to go over the top for the rebound. Goes back to the Jackrabbits.
So what South Dakota State's trying to do is come in and dig off the strong side, but in it, Trimble cuts to this open area in the lane, and by doing so, he gets a bucket. That's on George Marshall. George Marshall needs to stay in between Rasheed Suleiman and Melo Tremble and make them throw the ball back out to the shooter in front of him where he can close out.
This is DeAndre Parks. Gonna fire a three, and he sticks it. That was a contested shot to get the Jackrabbits on the board. Parks, the senior, out of Flint, Michigan. What a road that young man has had to get to this point.
And he struggled with his jump shot all season. That guy hasn't.
Second bucket in the early moments for Rashid Suleiman. He's got 4 of the Terps' 6 points.
Maryland's a team that I don't know if it translates on TV as well as in person. The missed shot from Parks. They are bigger at every position than South Dakota State. And that's the case in most games they play. They're one of those teams that they won some games early in the year in warm-up lines. Teams look down at the other end of the floor. Wow, those guys are big. Wow, those guys are skilled. Nice pass.
Tremble, backdoor, nice find. And the Terps extend their lead now, up 5. Pretty feed from Diamond Stone. Errant pass thrown out of bounds. That was Mike Dahm, their freshman, actually their leading scorer, who comes off the bench.
It's a little NBA set as Diamond Stone catches the ball, and Melo Tremble just kind of rubs his man. DeAndre Parks gets caught up, and there's no help because of the talented shooters surrounding him. I like the way Melo Tremble's playing so far. He missed that open 3, but he has 2 layups. Great way to get your field goal percentage up, get your confidence up as you're heading into the NCAA tournament.
Connor Devine, the junior, Alaska native, checks in for South Dakota State. Dahm steps right in front of Stone, comes up with the interception. Jackrabbits down 5. This is Tevin King back to Marshall. Finds his spot. Has that awkward-looking release. That certainly worked for him, and then a loose ball foul against the Terps underneath.
He does have an awkward-looking release. As George Marshall, you mentioned he started his career at Wisconsin. Was a starter, actually, as a redshirt freshman. Then some injuries. He got beat out. And it's a funky-looking jump shot. He rarely practices, especially in 5-on-5, because of the litany of injuries he has sustained during his college basketball playing career.
This is Dahm, wants to take Stone. Such a versatile big man, but that time shuffled his feet. A South Dakota State turnover. Tremble and Suleiman, all 8 points for the Terps. They're up 5 early moments in Spokane. The first reaction to that obviously is stunning, but in some ways, doesn't it kind of fit the year, Doug, that it's been in college basketball?
I guess, but Michigan State, a team that, remember, they beat Kansas at a conference. They just won the Big Ten tournament. Yes, but in a year in which parity reigns, nothing says that more than in the month of March, which has been owned by Tom Izzo for the better parts of the last 2 decades. Stunning result.
All that said, wow.
Wow. But that's also why, honestly, you want to be a 1 seed. A 1 has never lost to a 16, and yet we've seen 15s win in the past.
Well, we have already seen one upset here, certainly not of that magnitude, but Hawaii knocking out Cal, who just had too many obstacles to contend with this week. And right now, South Dakota State down 5. Auto bid out of the Summit League, champions of that conference for the 2nd time in 3 years. Right now trying to get their offense in gear. It's Keaton Moffitt. Good look at it, then it's tipped up and in by Connor Devine, the junior. This is a Jackrabbits program that went to the tournament back-to-back years for the first time as a D1 entrant, 2012, then again in 13. As a blocking foul is called here. It's on Devine.
Melo Tremble is known as the best ball screen point guard in college basketball, but that was an errant pass, and frankly, Diamond Stone wasn't open, which leads, of course, to South Dakota State driving in, missing, and Keaton Moffitt with the miss. And Keaton Moffitt is a former walk-on. Of course, he transferred in from a Division II school because he wanted on the pharmaceutical program at South Dakota State.
Scott Nagy called him one of the top, arguably the best walk-on in the country. Plays more than 20 minutes for them. Coming back from a horrific back injury, broke 2 vertebrae in his back in his sophomore year as Stone turns it over.
You see South Dakota State doubling on the dribble.
DeAndre Parks, this senior, with his second bucket.
And Parks, who struggled with his jump shot all season after having an outstanding year last year, already with 2 jumpers so far for the Rabbits.
Parks, the newcomer of the year last season in the Summit League. Preseason all-conference. Maryland, 3 turnovers over the last 2+ minutes. It's Jared Nickens, the sophomore. They go down low to Lehman. 7 to shoot. Parks showing double. Lehman swatted. That was Divine coming over. And here come the Jackrabbits now. This is Dawn, their leading scorer. Boy, it's taken away by Moffitt. Had a good look at it underneath, and then last touch by the Terps.
Well, how about Connor Divine, originally from Wasilla, Alaska. It comes from the weak side. Jake Lehman thought there was no help. Get that shot out of here.
Well, we mentioned the 2 trips to the tournament that they had under Nagy, 2012 and 13. Those were teams led by Nate Walters, the high-scoring guard. This is a much more balanced South Dakota team, according to what Scott Nagy told us yesterday.
South Dakota State, they share the ball exceptionally well. They usually put 5 players who can shoot the ball from 3 on the floor. He'll run a motion offense. They can post a little bit. It's a hard team to guard at the defensive end as Divine misses that little right-hand hook.
1-point game. Terps, no points in more than 3 minutes. That's Carter on a 3. He'll step out and take that shot occasionally. Shot clock resets. Terps making their 2nd straight tournament appearance after that 4-year hiatus. Lost to the Spartans in the Big Ten semis in a close game last week. Here's Lehman taking on contact.
How about Jake Lehman taking his time? He's had a very effective season. Lehman has so many of the attributes that you'd like in a swing player. Play the 3, play the 4 last year. Sometimes he gets pushed around a little bit.
That's Ian Tyson on a long shot.
Again, DeMonte Dodd comes in, true center. Tyson's ability to shoot the 3 is paramount for South Dakota State to be successful this afternoon.
Jackrabbits have missed 7 of their last 9 shots. Turnover. Carter trying to shove his man. Couldn't corral that pass. Reminder, don't miss the iHeartRadio Music Awards live Sunday, April the 3rd, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on TBS, TNT, and True TV. We are in Spokane. Spiro Ditas, Doug Gottlieb, Roz Gold on Wood A. Our producer, Ryan Galvin, Mark Grant, our director, and the rest of our fabulous crew. We'll miss the 2nd of our quadruple header. And now South Dakota State getting hot. Reed Telling-Hughes, the sophomore out of Iowa, has tied it at 10. Trimble setting the table. That's Nickens in the corner. And a Jersey native unable to convert. This is Parks. Now to Marshall. Biddle. Jackrabbits very patient, using all 30 of the shot clock. Tyson on a 3. That's a shot the Terps, Doug, have to think will give them the entire game.
Especially with DeMonte Dodd in the game.
Reach and foul on Marshall. Trimble fouled on the cut to the rim.
Got to watch out for those wascally Wabbits as South Dakota State hit jump shots tied up early with the Terps.
As the madness continues around the country, Villanova awaits the winner of that 7-10 matchup in a round of 32 matchup Sunday in Brooklyn.
And you know, these 2 teams, Spiro, know each other very well. They played in the Cancun Challenge, but didn't actually play against one another. There are 2 brackets to the Cancun Challenge, and South Dakota State won the other bracket, but they saw each other play at the Hard Rock Hotel.
Well, who's going to make the most shots? Who has more points in the second half? If your bracket's already busted, play the Capital One NCAA Tournament Run game on NCAA.com and in the March Madness Live app.
Matter of fact, Mark Turgeon, both staffs hung around to see each other play. And one reason Mark Turgeon wanted to watch South Dakota State play was, I did the same thing. I was calling the games. They were playing so well, such beautiful basketball. You wanted to watch what they were going to do next.
It's Dom trying to go glass. Turgeon said he approached the South Dakota State staff to compliment them on how impressed he was, in fact. It's kind of the same reaction a lot of people had at that juncture of the season. Melo, Trimble. Turgeon hoping to see more of that as the Terps up 4. Trimble has 8. Good early sign for Maryland. Here comes Biddle, swallowed up by Dodd. Dodd looking like a man among boys on that play. This is Carter. Biddle trying to draw the charge as we approach the midway point of the first half. What have you seen so far?
Well, I've seen that South Dakota State is trying to get that ball out of the low post by doubling on the dribble. I think they've done a very good job defending in the low post.
Trimble on a deep 3. Still had about 3 seconds to shoot. And then last touch by Carter underneath.
Whereas Maryland's done a very good job of trying to run South Dakota State off the line, not giving them too many threes with their feet set, instead making them drive the basketball and then blocking shots after the ball's been released.
See the team foul numbers. South Dakota State only 4 of 16 shooting. And if they look up and find themselves only down 4, Jackrabbits have now missed 8 of their last 9 shots. A very lazy pass stolen by Biddle quite easily. Poked away by Trimble, and a reach-in foul on Maryland star point.
I think it was a lazy pass as much as Jared Nickens was staring down the post. Staring down Robert Carter. Instead of just getting the ball on its way or shot faking, he's a very effective shooter. He turns it over and earns himself a seat on the pine. Not happy about it, but he's the one who threw the pass.
So Parks takes a seat for the Jackrabbits. Tevin King comes on for South Dakota State. Carter will sit for the Terps.
You see Jalen Brantley coming in for the Terps. He's had to play more minutes. Wow, what a great move.
What a finish by Dom, expressing himself. One of the top shooting outside big men in the country, taking the big Terps to the rack. Trimble setting the table. This is Lehman from 3, right down the chute. 5 points for the senior. 5-point Terps lead. This is Biddle on a 3. A little bit too strong. Rebound Lehman. Suleiman backs away, resets as we hit the 9-minute mark. Pass was deflected by King. Trimble with 10 to shoot. Able to turn the corner. Look at that play by Trimble. 9-2 Maryland run.
There's great patience from Melo Trimble, who trying to draw the foul, but he just kept pushing the edge against Dom.
That's Dom, splash. Their leading scorer, despite coming off the bench and despite averaging only 20 minutes per game. Dom is second in the country in average points per minute in Division I. Trimble able to draw contact, and now looks like he's shaken up.
Well, first let's take a look at Mike Dom, and this is what got him going. He fakes the little handoff on the inbounds pass, and DeMonte Dodd stands up and gets dunked on. And then Dodd gets caught in the lane. Dom is a tremendous three-point shooter. It's a 3 in his eye. Not quite the sequence you want if you're DeMonte Dodd trying to guard the redshirt freshman Mike Dom.
That's right. Oh, by the way, he's a freshman as well. Top freshman in the Summit League. But just such a unique player. Skill set, average minutes to do everything he does in such limited time. Really the picture of efficiency.
His mom is in the Wyoming Hall of Fame. She's a great basketball player. Dad played football at Wyoming.
Well, you can watch live games on your computer, phone, tablet, or streaming device with NCAA March Madness Live. Watch right now, ncaa.com/March Madness, or download the app today.
And you'd say, well, why didn't he go to Wyoming? So first, he's changed his body. since he got to South Dakota State. And the only reason South Dakota State recruited him was they went to see him play in Las Vegas. He played against Taco Fall, freshman, 7'3", for Central Florida. Dom hit 13 threes in that game.
He wouldn't guard him, right?
Wouldn't guard him. Just stand in the lane. Here's an overweight, big husky farm kid from Nebraska who hit 13 threes, and the South Dakota State staff said, we want that guy.
I'd say that was a decision they're very pleased with. Good start for him here, 6-point game. Tyson shuffled both of his feet.
And that's actually been their recruiting philosophy. Scott Nagy, you go back to when they first became Division I, they weren't funded well enough. They weren't in the league. They're independent. And players transferred out after being a very successful Division II program. His recruiting philosophy became, I'm going to recruit five players in the floor that can all score, can all shoot and score. So you have to guard them, and then only coach defense. They coach very little offense.
Nagy was very candid, said he basically had to go back and learn how to coach all over again after they transitioned his Carter in behind the defense to tip it up and in.
Yeah, they used to play like Michigan State. Sorry, Michigan. I know Michigan State lost today, but we're pushing the basketball up the floor, really trying to score quickly in transition. This style is very different.
Robert Carter, by the way, has 8 rebounds for Maryland. 8-point game. This is Parks on a 3. That gets it to 5. And DeAndre Parks has 8.
What a great story for DeAndre Parks. He's taken in one of his little brothers from Flint, moved in with him and his roommates on campus. He struggled all year with his shooting, with everything going on back home in Flint, Michigan.
JUCO transfer out of Iowa Lakes Community College, was a first-team All-American last year. The Terps turn it over. And the Jackrabbits not going away, within 5 after the 6th Maryland turnover. We welcome you back. Winner of that one advances to take on Villanova on Sunday in Brooklyn.
It's an Iowa team that has struggled to close games out, finish those wins.
And some of the key numbers, if you've just joined us: DeAndre Parks, 3 of 4 shooting. The rest of the Jackrabbits as a team, just 4 of 17. In the meantime, for Maryland, Robert Carter, 8 rebounds. And Melo Trimble leading him with 12 points. This is Marshall. Quiet till this point. This was the moment he was dreaming about after coming over from Wisconsin. Wanted that one chance to play in the NCAA tournament as a frontline player. But so far, Marshall is 0 for 3 and struggling. Lehman trying to go pick and roll to Carter. It's a kick. 6:19 to play before halftime.
Yeah, Marshall actually walked on his first semester at South Dakota State. Took a personal loan, a student loan. He owes $7,000. So when he starts playing or starts working, probably playing after this year, he'll have to start making payments towards that student loan. But South Dakota State didn't have a scholarship. He wanted to be the next Nate Walters, and that's why he came.
And finally gets his NCAA tournament moment at the age of 23. Kid who, interestingly, barely is able to practice, has had an assortment of injuries, missed 6 games early in the season. Here comes Dom, blocked by Stone from the back. Stone kind of gives him a little look.
Well, that's one of those, where are you going? Mike Dom's a tremendous player. And the Summit League's a good league. Oral Roberts gave them fits in the tournament this year. Of course, North Dakota State played them in the finals. North Dakota State, we called the game where they beat Oklahoma 2 years ago. But they got some dudes here at Maryland. You may not want to drive in there like that.
This is Marshall, resets against Trimble. Shot clock down to 6. Marshall trying to make something happen. Then just swallowed up by that front line.
Back.
Whistle off the ball. It's an offensive foul on Stone. Bit of a wrestling match on the block against Dom.
That's a post up. You watch. Diamond Stone comes down. This is what you teach every big guy to do. Set up shop, post up. That's not a face. Come on. That's an awful call. That's one where I'm trying to advance because I think he was displaced. The officials are graded based upon calls they make, calls they missed. If they score well enough, they advance. That's an awful call.
Reminder, Temple and Iowa going to overtime right now. You can see that game on True TV. Here on TBS in Spokane, Spiro Ditas, Doug Gottlieb, Roz Gold on Wood A. The Jackrabbits looking for some offense. Biddle has had some looks, unable to hit that. It's tipped up and in inadvertently. South Dakota State within 3, despite shooting 7 for 24 as a team.
If you're Maryland now, you need to put some distance between yourself and the Jackrabbits. You don't want this crowd to turn on you, which is what happens in the NCAA tournament.
There's Suleiman from 3. But a couple of early is quieted down since that last Jackrabbits bucket given to Biddle. Here he is in the corner. That's a 3. Tellincusen.
Did you say Biddle got credit for that bucket?
Yes.
He had about as much to do with that last basket as I did.
He'll take the deuce nonetheless.
Because that was Diamond Stone, right? You tipped it in?
Appeared as though that was the case from our vantage point. Have to give it to someone, though.
Yeah, yes. They're team field goals.
You saw the Maryland scoring drought stretching over 3 minutes here. This is Trimble, 12 points. Turning the corner. Or Tellincusen able to defend him as well as they could hope.
Did a great job of switching, keeping his hands and not using his body. Not using his hands, using his body instead. Excuse me.
This is Dom, now to Marshall. As we move on to the 4-minute mark before halftime. Dom. Rebound God. But again, if you're South Dakota State, you have to be pleased. The offense has been a little bit ragged.
And you're only down 3.
Against the 5th-seeded Maryland Terrapins, who at one point this season were 22-3 and 2nd in the AP poll. Trimble probing the defense. 5 to shoot. Setting the table for Lehman on a 3. That's good. First points from Maryland since the 7:45 mark of the half. This is Biddle. Give him the 3. Continues to struggle. Rebounding foul on Dom underneath. And a big call against the Jackrabbits.
Melo Trimble split the double team, finding Jake Lehman, who finds 3. Terps up 6.
26-20 as we welcome you back to Spokane. The NCAA tournament and Coke team up for great taste. How about that?
He needs to refill that popcorn though, man. Give me some hot, fresh popcorn. Nice cold Coke at half.
I'm actually getting a little hungry. Here comes Melo Trimble. He'll bring it up the floor. Doug, fair to say Maryland's kind of underwhelming till this point. What have you seen?
So far, but they're playing a very good team that has kept them in front, done a good job against them defensively. As much as you can be a little depressed about their offense, their defense has been very solid, especially if you look at the numbers.
Shot clock down to 7. Boy, Suleiman forcing the issue. Excellent defense by Parks. And that's the first on the former Blue Devil.
And Suleiman goes into the N1 mixtape routine instead of just moving the basketball. But this is one of the issues with Maryland, is that if it's not Melo Trimble, and it's not scoring in the low post, who else can create a shot?
South Dakota State looking for some quick offense. Oh, not even close.
Remember, Deion Wiley was supposed to start at the 2-guard for him this year. Jared Nickens buries a 3 coming off the bench. He hurt his knee, had a meniscal tear, had it sewn up, which causes a 4-month recovery. And so really, Melo Trimble's the only true ball handler they have. Whereas Rasik Suleiman has played off the basketball, kind of a 2-3 combo during his career at Duke.
Coming up on the final 2 minutes. Here's Parks, who's played very well in the first half. That one a little bit short. South Dakota State has missed 9 of its last 10 shots. They've had 2 long offensive droughts in this game. Lehman on a 3.
That didn't look like anything, but that was unbelievable use of the ball screen by Melo Trimble.
Marshall trying to force the issue. He's fouled. As official Tony Padilla blows his whistle. Here's our game summary. $1:45 to play before halftime. South Dakota State can just get their offense in gear. They could get this a little bit closer right now, down 9.
But I think a lot of that is the Terps. They've done a very good job of running South Dakota State off the 3-point line for the most part. Not giving them clean, open looks, making them drive into traffic especially driving to their bigs.
Trimble has to sit, picks up his second team All Big Ten.
This is where they struggle. Jalen Brantley, not really a true point guard. He's been in and out of the lineup. Not enough ball handling.
I wondered how Trimble would come back after that dreadful 2 of 15 performance in the semis of the Big Ten tournament against Michigan State. He's had a good first half. This is Mike Dahm, the freshman, going glass right over the top of Diamond Stone. First points for the Jackrabbits in nearly 4 minutes. 7-point game. A pass deflected by Parks. Says that perhaps Nickens had touched it last. 13 to shoot for the Terps.
Okay, Dom takes it right to the chin of Diamond Stone. Uses his own long arms to make that right-hand hook off the window. Dom can shoot threes, can score in that low post. An extremely versatile asset as he's going to have 3 more seasons.
Trimble back on the floor. Here he is firing the 3. He is fouled. Scott Nagy buries his face in his hands as Trimble will step to the line for 3.
Excellent coaching as they use just a quick little pin down to try and get him the basketball, get Melo Trimble the basketball, either looking for a jump shot or to turn the corner. But Mark Turgeon puts him in because they have an out-of-bounds play, run a play for your best offensive player, and after he makes his second free throw, they'll take him out.
And that's the second on George Marshall. Well, your teams, your highlights, your scores, all in one place. Download Team Stream, the free app from Bleacher Report right now. So here's Trimble. 14 first half points, 6 of which have come at the free throw line.
I mean, he forced that
right at his season average at 14.
Forced that 1 3-point shot, but other than that, he's played really well. And now he has 2 fouls. And Turgeon's going to use him offense to defense subs to protect him from foul trouble.
Well, there were many around the country that were surprised when he announced he'd return for his sophomore season after the signing of Diamond Stone. Kind of rethought things and the potential team that they would have. Again, just massive expectations that Mark Turgeon talked about, hounding this team all season.
So a little 1-2-2 trap. South Dakota State turns it over. What's Mark Turgeon do? Let's get Melo Trimble back in the game. He'll probably run another play for him. Of course, Turgeon, former point guard, played in 4 NCAA tournaments at Kansas, and then was on the staff at Kansas with Larry Brown when they won a national championship.
First player in Kansas history to play in 4 consecutive tournaments. Kansas native at the age of 51, back in the big dance.
Topeka, big Royals fan. And of course, Maryland fans will tell you, two wins away from that matchup.
I had a chance to visit with him yesterday, and a lot of coaches say they don't read anything, they don't watch their sports shows on TV. He really doesn't read anything. Completely disconnects from all that stuff. Social media. He says, I know they've been killing me all year and hard on our team.
Well, it went from 2 years ago, he was on the proverbial hot seat, to then now everybody falling in love with his team, to where he had the expectations.
Another reminder coming up, AT&T at the half. Scores and highlights, all the latest NCAA tournament news, including Michigan State going down in a 2-15 matchup earlier today. A stunner. And plenty of opinions on that one and the rest of the day on AT&T at the half. Largest lead now with Maryland up a dozen. Doug, what's happened to the Jackrabbits?
They've just been unable to score. And Maryland's finally gotten some of their own offensive woes together.
Dahm on a 3. Needed that badly. South Dakota State is 9 for 33 and just 4 of 17 from deep. Mark Turgeon wants a timeout, 24.6. And right now the Terps in command, up a dozen late stages first half on TBS. Final 24.6 first half here in Spokane. The Maryland Terrapins taking control of this game. Last couple of minutes, South Dakota State in another one of their droughts. You see the run by the Terps. Trimble and Lehman have combined for 25 of their 34 points. 7 to shoot. Carter underneath to Lehman, went right through his hands. Well played by Biddle. And the Jackrabbits will have 5.6.
Well, I think they tried to sneak the ball inside to Jake Lehman in the post-up, but that ball was supposed to go back to Melo Tremble.
And now Scott Nagy will burn a quick timeout. And we will step aside. Jackrabbits down 12. 5.6 left in the half. Well, a thriller at the end of overtime. Iowa gets past Temple on a tip-in right at the final buzzer. And so the Hawkeyes advance. They'll take on Villanova Sunday in Brooklyn in a 2-7 matchup in the round of 32.
Getting a chance to see Varun Ram check in to the game for the Terps right here. Ram, of course, checked in late in their first-round game last year and got a much-needed steal.
Whistle blown as Parks trying to force the issue up towards the corner. It's only the 5th team foul.
He's majoring
Maryland
in neurobiology and physiology. He holds a 3.99 GPA.
Their SID yesterday joked that they think he has the cure for cancer. Is that kind of intelligence in terms of his academic wherewithal, but what a future that kid has in front of him, no matter what path he chooses.
Except last year against Valpo, he probably fouled when the clock expired to get that
steal. Biddle gets it off. Well, he's had some good looks. Yep. Just has not been able to find his stroke in the first half. Biddle just 1 of 8.
That's the story for South Dakota State. They missed 11 of the last 13 shots. I think it's Maryland's defense more than South Dakota State being tight or being nervous. I think the Terps have just been there, blocked some shots, and generally wreaked havoc on the Jackrabbit offense.
Rise standing by with Mark Turgeon.
Coach, your team has made it tough on them for each shot, inside and out. What is your team committed to defensively?
Well, you know, our path is through our defense, and so we really talked about it. We've really worked on it a lot the last 2 weeks. They've missed some shots for us, too. The shots that we're giving them, they've missed for us, and that helps, too.
And Melo Trimble, he's been aggressive for his offense, carrying the scoring. How do you like the way he's managing the game so far?
Well, he's doing a nice job. We got to do a better job feeding the post. That's the only thing that's frustrating to me. We're not moving the ball quick enough. We're not feeding the post when the guy's open. If we can do that, that would really help us.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Guys.
All right, Rise, Maryland ends the half on an 11-2 run and take a 12-point lead into the locker room. We'll send you to AT&T at the half after these messages. You're watching the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Back with you from Spokane. Maryland Terrapins, 5th seed out of the South, up a dozen as they close the first half on an 11-2 run. Spiro Thetis, Doug Gottlieb, Roz Gold on Woodey. We'll hear from Roz in just a couple of minutes. Melo Trimble, 15 points, ties a season high for most points we've seen from him in a half.
Well, 2 things. One, he got back to the free throw line. Last year, he led the country in free throw attempts, and he gets to the free throw line, makes all 7. The second is he's taking good shots. There was one, misfire that he shot deep when the shot clock was run down, but you get 2 layups, you get a little mid-range floater and a pull-up from 17. You take better shots, you get to the free throw line. He's had 15 points, and he hasn't really broken a sweat.
See the damage he's done at the free throw line. 7 for 7 as Trimble really led that offense. Major reason why they're up a dozen. Well, can South Dakota State get their offense in gear? It's a team that led the Summit League in scoring, better than 76 per game, and they get right to work with the little floater on the baseline with Biddle.
Biddle finally makes one, as you pointed out before the end of the half. You're right, he's gotten some good looks, he just has not converted.
Biddle was just 1 of 8 in the first half.
Melo Trimble last year attempted 240 free throws. This year, only 150 coming into the game.
This is Diamond Stone, quiet offensive first half. Doesn't get the roll, rebound underneath by Tyson.
You still like, though, that Diamond Stone can go to that left hand. He's not, as most young players, strictly right-hand dominant.
That's Marshall on a long 2. Jackrabbits battling for the rebound, knocked it out of bounds, and they'll have it fresh 30. Let's check in with Roz.
At halftime, I spoke with Coach Nagy for South Dakota State, and he said, first of all, to break Maryland's defense down, it has to start with our threes. It stretches the defense. Right now, we can't spread it out, and we're getting good looks. We just need patience, and we also need to get it inside and out for those threes. He also pointed out George Marshall's a big key to our offensive success. Right now, he's 0 for 4. They're throwing bigger guards at him, trapping the ball screens, forcing others to step up, but he still wants him to use the pick and roll because it'll get people open. He said guys have to step up and hit those shots. George Marshall has to make the right decision.
Well, Parks certainly didn't make the right choice on that sequence, throws it away. So the cutter was going towards the basket.
And George Marshall, when he's been healthy, has been a dominant player this year, but this is a higher level of competition.
Wisconsin transfer. Here comes Trimble down the paint. Offensive foul. So already we've seen an improvement now both ends of the floor by South Dakota State, and that is the third on Trimble.
And you know what? That actually shouldn't be a charge. You have to be set as a secondary defender. That means the guy who's not guarding the ball. Before he goes into the move, before the ball starts to rise up. If you look at that play back over again, you'll notice that Tyson did not have his feet set until Mello was already in the air. I think that's a bad call, but it's his third foul.
This is Marshall. Underneath to Tyson. Tyson, the sophomore. Minnesota native, stepping middle, showing a soft touch. 8-point game. So 4 unanswered to start the half. The new South Dakota State would have a push in them and would not go quietly.
Well, now you have Melo Trimble out of the game, so Rashid Suleiman has to be a point guard.
This is Carter. He can really put it on the deck for a big guy. That's a block. Hard collision between he and Tyson. That's the second on the sophomore big.
He and Tyson just goes right to Carter, right to his strong left shoulder, right hand. Just kind of slops it in. And he fouled Robert Carter down at the other end. Carter transferred, sat out last year, transferring in from Georgia Tech. Lost weight, really improved his game. The only flaw to his game is shooting too many jump shots since Big Ten play.
Oh, don't miss the new TBS comedy series, The Detour, with back-to-back episodes. It premieres April 11th at 9/8 Central. Carter sat out last season after that transfer. Honorable mention, all Big Ten. A monstrous game against the Spartans in that loss in the semis. 18 points and 8 rebounds. But has been quiet for the most part till this point today.
And it was weird. Charles Mitchell, who's a power forward, transferred out of Maryland to Georgia Tech. Robert Carter, power forward, transferred from Georgia Tech. They basically traded players. No player to be named later.
Here comes Suleiman off the steal. Trying to fend off Biddle. Boy, Suleiman nearly got it to go.
Hard foul.
Maryland bench screaming just that. As Biddle gets his money's worth, it's his second.
Suleiman with the steal, and Biddle the left arm, as much as the little left arm gives him a nudge, as the right arm fouls him hard. Not a flagrant 1 or flagrant 2, just a good hard foul trying to keep Suleiman from making an and 1.
So here's Rashid Suleiman. Last year became infamously, I should say, the first player ever dismissed by Mike Krzyzewski from his Duke program. Just could never seem to get on the same page with Krzyzewski. So, boy, has he found his niche. We asked Turgeon about his history. Did he have a conversation with Coach K? He said, no, I didn't really judge him on anything that I heard in the past, and he has been a godsend, one of the critical leaders for this team.
And in the offseason, he brought the team together and allowed them to vote, do we want Rashid on our team? And they, to a man, voted yes. He allowed it to be a decision made by the players. And Suleiman, Johnny in the spot, gets the steal.
Dom and Moffitt have come onto the floor for the Jackrabbits. Suleiman nearly turned it over. This is Stone. Power is just too strong for Dom. First 2-point field goal from Maryland since the 7:45 mark of the first half. Incredible. It's been all threes and free throws before that make. Dom just runs into a wall that is Stone and Carter.
Well, Stone didn't leave his feet, blocked the shot without fouling. But the improvement of Diamond Stone has been dramatic. I mentioned that tournament in Cancun where both teams played. They try and throw a lob to Dom.
Dom under control, didn't force it on the catch, and earns 2 free throws.
In that tournament, like most of the non-conference slate of the season, Diamond Stone struggled with foul trouble. He was constantly a step slow, in the wrong position, not doing the right thing on the ball screen. But in the championship game, they were blowing out Rhode Island. And Mark Turgeon put him into the game. He had 4 fouls early in the second half and made the team throw the ball to him at the low post every time down the floor. And it showed, really, if you watch the bench, that the entire team knew they weren't going to get to their ultimate goal unless Diamond Stone developed as an offensive player. And you look at the development over time in the Big Ten, and I think it started in the second half of the championship game in Cancun.
He certainly has had his growing pains, suspended for a game by Turgeon after that flagrant foul in a game against Wisconsin. Another questionable call here against the Terrapins.
I mean, you can't call a foul anytime somebody tries to post up. I mean, it's just, at some point, there has to be a basketball game played. And when you call a foul every time somebody tries to post up, it disrupts the general flow of the game.
Well, that first game we had today between Cal and Hawaii was about as ragged as you'll see. Seemed like we had a whistle every time down the floor.
That was
we know the officials have the mandate trying to clean up the game, but it's been tough to watch at times as Dom's pass is deflected out of bounds by Lehman with 17 to shoot.
Block charge is extremely hard to call. It's a bang play, and knowing when to call the hand checks, the arm bars, that's difficult. But you have to allow players at some point to play and make mistakes, and when the fouls are obvious, then you call them.
Inbounds to Marshall in the backcourt, still 14 to shoot. This is Dom on the box. Wants to take Stone one-on-one. This kid is so confident, turns into the double, and a foul called. It was Dodd who came from the blind side. And now Dom's starting to get comfortable. It's on Stone, that's his third.
Now Dom just sweeps through, spins back. And that's why you tell your players to drop. And I think that's why Mark Turgeon wants the ball in the low post, because if it's a 50-50 play, you're going to get a call.
Look at the CBS Sports app. Follow your brackets, watch highlights, get instant team and upset alerts. Download the CBS Sports app now. Mike Dom, a freshman out of a town in Nebraska called Kimball. Population 2,500, was overlooked by all the big collegiate programs. Redshirted last year, was barely in Nagy's rotation early this season. Boy, has he blossomed quickly.
Melo Tremble out with 3 personal fouls. He's not the strength of the Terps lineup.
Carter stumbling, gets the pass off. That's a 3 from the corner. Nickens got it. Nickens hit 47 threes, second most among Big Ten players. Guys who did not start a single game this season. That's Dom. Rims off, and a rebound pulled by Dodd. Lehman will slow it down. Terps will reset. They were up 12 at halftime. And after a brief push from South Dakota State, it's back to 11.
Now they want to get the ball to the low post every time. Feed that big fella till he burps when the double comes. That's when you get jumpers.
Lehman left open. That's good. 13 for the senior out of Massachusetts. Their only fourth-year senior on the roster. One of the top small forwards in the country. Largest lead for the Terps.
2 straight times they got a low post touch. 2 straight times they got a 3 in the corner out of the double team.
Moffitt misses the 3, follows his own shot, and then is fouled by Carter on the baseline with just over 15 minutes remaining.
Seeing the double team, making the extra pass. The Terrapins, the hair, lose it to the Terps.
15:01 to play. As you see the brackets there, VCU awaits the winner. Oklahoma struggling earlier in that game, now restoring order. That's already 1-2-15 upset, 8th time we've seen it in the history of the tournament. With Middle Tennessee State stunning Michigan State earlier today.
And Hawaii stunning Cal.
Here's Dom trying to force his way middle of the paint. Little flick over the shoulder, going right at the 6'11 DeMonte Dodd. 13 for the freshman Dom. Freshman of the year this season in the Summit League. Also sixth man of the year and first team all conference. Lehman on a three. That's good. And now Lehman getting hot. The Terrapins 6 of 14 from distance. Lehman's got 16 points. This is Biddle. South Dakota State at the other end, meantime, is stone cold from deep. 4 for 21 as a team.
And Biddle, a guy who's just kind of kept together by duct tape, really. Look at the knee brace. He's had all kinds of wear and tear injuries. Nickens hits another three. You start to understand why people have thought so kindly of this Maryland team. You got guys that can make shots, and they're big enough to just shoot over the defense.
This is a team that has had such high expectations, really, from day one, before the season began. Marshall spotting up for the corner three, finally able to hit one. First points for the senior out of Chicago, George Marshall. First three for the Jackrabbits since the 7:30 mark of the first half. Well, first 2 seed goes down in this tournament. First time we've seen that since Florida Gulf Coast made their run in 2013. And Jake Lehman getting hot over the last couple of minutes for Maryland.
The best part about Lehman is he's playing without agenda. You know, there are times during his junior season where you can almost see Jake Lehman saying to himself, how many points do I have? All right, I got to get stats. There was a thought that he would leave and go to the NBA draft. Lehman has taken good open shots, and that really, if you look at his season, for the most part, he's played without an eye on the box score, instead trying to play to win.
This is Nickens again. That's his third three-pointer in the last couple of minutes. Maryland, over their last 5 trips, has hit 5 threes. Let's go to Rise.
Coach Nagy told his team, we've got to be unbelievable now to get back in this. This is the point. They're starting to hit the three. We've got to do it on the defensive end. We can't trade baskets now. But he reminded them, hang in there. We've been here before. It didn't look good, and we found a way.
Scott Nagy, 21 years as a collegiate head coach, all of them at the helm of South Dakota State. Built them into a Division II juggernaut. Oversaw their transition to Division I. And trying to pull off what would be a monumental upset. But right now, getting pushed around by the Terrapins. Here's DeAndre Parks. Caught fire early in this game. Haven't really heard from him since. Dom on a long three. That's good.
And that's a hard matchup for Tamonte Dodd. Dodd, a center, kind of a shot blocker, big body around the basket. You see Dom, the versatility where he can score on you in the low block, and he can beat you from 22 feet out.
Well, you look up. It's only a 13-point game.
Melo Trimble hasn't played in a while with that third personal foul.
Here's Lehman. Or not the shot you usually see. How about a little baby hook shot on a spin underneath? Biddle. And they'll credit the basket to Biddle. Defensive interference on Dodd.
Well, you mentioned Jake Lehman. You don't often see it. That's because you don't often see the talent of a player like Jake Lehman. Can shoot, can score, can pass. Shoot a little baby hook. Terps up 13.
As we welcome you back to Spokane, beautiful Pacific Northwest. Great crowd today. Winner of this game advances to take on the surprising upstarts from Honolulu, Hawaii, the 13th seed who knocked off Cal earlier today. Spiroditas Gottlieb, Rise Gold on Wood A. Maryland Terrapins up a dozen at halftime. Right now up 13 points. South Dakota State trying to make their second half push. Contact underneath and a foul on the freshman Dom.
And if you're just joining us, you may have missed the fact that Maryland opened up this game. They opened up their lead. Now it's at 13 points without Melo Trimble. The way they did it was throwing the ball inside to their big men, and the double team would come. And that's where Diamond Stone, you see the growth of him as a player. He was waiting for the double team, didn't see it come, and so he went right to work on Dom.
Yeah, with Trimble on the bench, and before that last free throw from Stone, they had gotten 17 straight points from Lehman and Nickens, and all of those points coming, or mostly all of them, on threes. So here's Stone playing in front of his parents, Bob and Cynthia, in attendance here in Spokane.
His dad was All-American at Wisconsin Whitewater. Of course, he grew up in Milwaukee. A lot of people thought he would go to the University of Wisconsin, see his parents. Mom wearing the the Terps scarf. A little wave to the folks at home.
She can see herself up on the big screen here in the arena. This is such a thrilling tournament when you're a parent watching your kid play at this kind of stage, this level. A lot of nerves. But hoping that the Terps can advance here to Sunday in the round of 32. Dom able to find Biddle in the corner. And Biddle continues to struggle now. 3 of 12. He's 0 for 6 from deep. Look at Lehman get down the floor, drawing contact. And Lehman right now playing at another level.
Well, what a beautiful pass by Rashid Suleiman. Suleiman finding Lehman, and look at Lehman just running the floor. Watch right here, he's just gone. You got 2 rim runners and George Marshall back defensively, nothing to do but foul.
Doug, you look at Maryland again, 22 and 3 at one point in the season. They were being talked about mid-February as a Final Four team potentially. We saw Michigan State go down today. If they can figure it out here and get hot again, this team could go as deep as they want next couple of weeks.
I don't think there's any doubt. But look, without Dion Wiley, you're limited in terms of your backcourt depth. You just are. And they would take on a Hawaii team that has the #1 and #2 steals leader in the Big West Conference. That said, that's a team that you'll be a prohibitive favorite to beat.
Here comes DeAndre Parks. I've been quiet since that early stint, but he's got a dozen now. Second leading scorer in this game behind the freshman Dom. Parks is 5 of 7 from the field. Every time we have thought that the Jackrabbits are done, they've made a push. Coming up on the midway point, second half, this is Suleiman. Over to Trimble. The Terps in no rush. Trimble trying to take Marshall. And a reach-in foul. It's on Tevin King, freshman. Another Chicago product. And that's his first.
So far, it's really been a get-right game for Maryland. The get-right game is you played just an all-out war. Didn't score a field goal for 10.5 minutes against Michigan State. Brutally physical game. You almost won.
Lehman. It's target practice now for the senior.
Right, and that's the get-right game. Everybody, Jared Nickens has a couple of threes. Lehman playing well. Diamond Stone getting to the free throw line. Melo Tremble shooting a high percentage. Everybody regaining their confidence after a brutal Big Ten stretch.
Lehman's got 23 points. That is Reed Tellinghausen, the sophomore Iowa native. Able to draw and go glass. Drive, I should say. But just to get back to Lehman, 23 points, 5 of 7 from deep. His season high, a 26-point game against Nebraska.
Well, now he's playing the power forward. Remember, this is what they played last year when they kind of took the Big Ten by storm. A smaller lineup with shooters all around Diamond Stone.
Stone nearly fell out of bounds, then trying to save it through it right at Tellinghausen. Here comes Parks. Poked away. What a defensive play by Nickens. Those empty trips have really come back to haunt the Jackrabbits.
Here's what I mean with this lineup. This is the best offensive lineup you can throw out there. As you have Diamond Stone in the low post, you look to the weak side, shooter, 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 buckets.
What a stretch for Lehman. Hearing it from the Maryland contingent behind the bench.
But they were all good shots. Forget about what a player scores. It's the fact that he took all rhythm jump shots. And the better the look, the higher the percentage, the more likely you're going to get praise from your coach, whether it goes in or whether it doesn't go in.
Second most games played in the history of the program. He's been doing it for a long time.
Really? I saw that stat, and I just thought, I was thinking of Juan Dixon, I was thinking of Steve Blake and all the games they played. Obviously, teams play more games now.
There's certainly something to do with it, but they're only 4-year senior on this current roster. This is Nickens on a 3. One of the few bad shots he's taken. A pile for the loose ball under the rim, and the officials say Maryland basketball.
That one missed by a lot.
Shot clock does not reset. It's at 4 here. And just under 9 minutes remaining. Again, the winner of this game advances to take on Hawaii Sunday in the round of 32. The Rainbow Warriors knocking off Cal earlier today. That's Robert Carter beating the clock.
That was a big-time move. Kind of stepped through the double team, went right to that strong right-hand hook.
Carter 5 points to go along with 9 rebounds as King forces the issue at the other end, and he'll shoot 2.
This is like a clinic on playing through contact. A bump, fakes to the one side, back to the other. Beautiful hook, using his left hand to kind of stabilize himself, shoot to the right hand. What a shot for Robert Carter.
4th personal charge to Diamond Stone. Oh, who delivered the Buick expectation-shattering performance of the day. Tune into Inside March Madness, presented by Buick, and find out.
I'd say Middle Tennessee State.
A stunner for those who are just getting to a television set. Only the 8th time we've seen a 15-seed knock off a 2. And the first one since, again, the Florida Gulf Coast magical run back in 2013. See the Jackrabbits now ratchet up the defensive pressure, but Maryland able to beat it easily. Terps, the at-large bid out of the Big Ten, finished 3rd in the conference, tied with Purdue, another team that was knocked off yesterday. Rare miss by Trimble in this game. This is Marshall. Long 3. Telling-Husen. See if that won't give the Jackrabbits a shot in the arm. 13-point game as we cross the 8-minute mark. South Dakota State suddenly red hot. They've hit 7 of their last 8 shots.
And I think Mark Turgeon, he was trying to be nice and get everybody involved. Took Jake Lehman out after he hit a 3. Hugs all around. Put on the warm-up jacket. We'll save you for the Hawaii game. And all of a sudden now, a couple straight jump shots. It's 13 points.
And a lot of time remaining. Trimble setting the table. That's Mickens. Offensive rebound, Carter. Shot clock resets. And now Trimble wisely will run that clock. This is Mickens. Over to Jalen Brantley, the sophomore. 10 to shoot. Got underneath, turned it over. Unable to find Carter. 13 Maryland turnovers.
Telling-Husen allowing this team to hang around as Telling-Husen hits a deep 3. Jackrabbits within 13.
Game summary. Do the Jackrabbits have one last push left in them? Down 13 points with 7 and change remaining. We welcome you back to Courtside. Spiro Adidas, Doug Gottlieb, Roz Gold on Woody. How did the Jackrabbits make that last push here? What do they have to do?
Well, look, they've won the turnover battle. They actually have more offensive rebounds than Maryland does. Maryland's just shooting far too easy of shots. In room, in rhythm. I'd stop double teaming, play man up, try and make Maryland beat you with contested 2s instead of wide open 3s.
Well, not the result that Scott Nagy was hoping for during that timeout. They turned it over. Down 13 points with 6:45 remaining. Then the winner of this game advances. They'll take on Hawaii Sunday. The 13 seed in the round of 32. Here comes Carter. Oh. Swooping hook shot with his right hand. Swooping or sweeping?
Sweeping.
This is Marshall. Deep 3. Buries it. 12-point game for Marshall, the senior out of Chicago. Only his 6th point of the afternoon.
Now, the other thing you can do if you're South Dakota State is you confront the low post. You don't have to allow Maryland to catch the ball down there. But most of the damage they've done is off of low post touches.
Suleiman had a 3, rim out. Here comes Marshall pushing up the floor. Now wants to take Trimble off the bounce, and he's headed to the free throw line. And here comes South Dakota State. A chance to cut it to single digits.
So much better is George Marshall, who settled for jump shots early in the game. Maryland's done a good job of containing him for the most part. He just puts his head down, little crossover, drives to the hoop, and gets a chance for an and-one.
George Marshall, the senior, his unlikely journey from Chicago's South Side to Brookings, South Dakota, became a star while cutting his teeth on the playgrounds of that rough section of Chicago. Battled guys like Derrick Rose and Jabari Parker. Finally getting his moment on the biggest stage of college basketball at the age of 23. Jackrabbits on an 11-2 run. They've hit 5 straight shots. Trimble weaves through traffic, gliding to the cup, and he banks it in. Magical play by Trimble. Terps lead back to 11. This is Dom. Outside King. First points of the second half, that last play by Trimble. Coming up on the final 5 minutes. Marshall on a 3. Misses everything, and the basketball back to Maryland.
Great ball screen offense. Is one screen, he engages the defender, then a second one, all the same pick. That's using the screen, then going back over the screen, then splitting the screen, and attacking the big guy. He's a savant with the basketball, using those ball screens as both a passer and a driver.
Well, Mark Turgeon told us yesterday, despite some of his struggles, he's a better player than he was a year ago. Just hasn't shown it consistently enough. Suleiman thought he was fouled. Loose ball fielded by Dom. Here come the Jackrabbits, down 11.
I think one reason is they've played a bigger lineup more, so there's not as much room to drive, and he's been kept off the free throw line more.
That's DeAndre Parks, the senior, trying to make his family proud as they look on back in Flint, Michigan. 9-point game. This is Lehman. 23 points. Outside Suleiman, still 8 to shoot. Crosses over Parks. Outside Nickens. Contact and a foul. It's on Tevin King, the freshman. Boy, and that one hurts. The shot clock was down to 3 seconds.
You mentioned DeAndre Parks. A great athletic move as Monte Dodd just too slow to try and help out on that ball screen, and Parks with a beautiful floater in the lane.
So free throws now a 1-and-1 for Jared Nickens. 73% free throw shooter, but has not shot many on the season.
He's
only 11.
He's a standstill open shooter. That is a valuable weapon because he provides space for both the big men and for Melo Trimble to do their job.
Nickens, a sophomore, down at Monmouth Junction, New Jersey.
And we're going to see DeAndre Bembry later on tonight, who is a high school teammate.
That's right.
And a more heavily recruited player than the A-10 player of the year.
Phil Martelli joking with Bembry yesterday, and he wasn't even the best player on his high school team. Timeout, an 11-point Terps lead here in Spokane. March Madness continues tonight. 8 more first-round games across our platform of networks: CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV. You decide the games you want to watch. What a fun day it's been. March Madness taking hold. Second full day of competition around the country. And we've got a couple of good ones coming up. Holy Cross and Oregon will be our next game, followed by the nightcap Cincinnati and St. Joseph's, coached by Phil Martelli out of Philadelphia. Then the winner of this game advances to take on Hawaii on Sunday, round of 32. DeAndre Parks starting to cook.
That was the best offense that South Dakota State has run in quite a while. Called, set play, got people moving, got a wide open shot.
Parks averages better than 14 per game. Now spearheading a 16-6 South Dakota State run. 8-point game, 3:20 remaining. This is Trimble. Outside Lehman for 3. Well short.
And then you get Diamond Stone back in the game. Their best offenses, and they had him in the low post.
Marshall for 3. That's good. 5-point game. Marshall's been dreaming about this moment for the last couple of years. Timeout, Maryland.
The old story is the hare gets ahead of the tortoise, right? Now, don't tell March Madness 2016. This hair making a comeback. South Dakota State down 5.
19-6 run by the Jackrabbits. They are within 5. They started this game 6 of 24 from 3. They've hit 4 of their last 5 from distance.
Mark Turgeon took Diamond Stone out with his 4th personal foul. I think he kind of forgot about him. Now he's got him back in the game with Robert Carter. They were dominating this game by getting the ball into the low post, and they were running South Dakota State off the three-point line. They gave up 3 relatively good looks to South Dakota State in the last 2 possessions and haven't been nearly as crisp offensively.
Sean Nagy, 21st year at the helm of this program. It took him 17 years to get him to the dance. But this is their 3rd appearance in the last 5 years. Shot clock at 5. Trimble recognizes. Bottled up by Marshall. What's the call here? Marshall can't believe it. That's his 4th.
He has an unbelievable ability, and I think he got fouled. But watch as he throws his head back. As George Marshall makes contact. Now, Melo Trimble initiates the contact, but then throws his head back as if he got fouled. Scott Nagy can't believe it. But every fan of the Big Ten's like, yeah, that's Melo Trimble's game.
Well, no continuation at the collegiate level. So Trimble at the free throw line hits the front end of the 1-and-1 to give the Terps a little bit more breathing room with 2 and change remaining.
Last year lived at the free throw line. This year, you look, he still gets to the line a bunch. 8 for 8 today, 7 for 7 in the first half. He's been saddled with fouls. It's a huge part of his game.
Well, this was one of the sexy upset picks going into the dance in terms of the 5-12 matchups. Took South Dakota State a while to get going, but here they come now. King, boy, had a great look at it, couldn't put it home.
What a smart play from Robert Carter. Not just falling down, but he stayed on his feet and didn't foul and caused King to miss that shot.
Now Trimble says, let's slow it down. Up 7 as we hit the 2-minute mark. And now the officials blow their whistle. It was Tony Padilla.
I think the clock didn't start on time. Something wrong with the clock. It's kind of like an AAU game. Something. Clock! There's the clock!
Tony Padilla, Lamar Simpson, and Jeb Hartness are officials.
It was stuck there. It was 2:15, 2:14. The shot clock was off. That's the difference. Once Robert Carter got the basketball, that's when the shot clock should have started.
Now this gives Scott Nagy a chance to get his team over, give them some instruction. Officials coming over to confirm that it was a shot clock issue. Doug, what's the explanation you got?
It's a shot clock issue.
Okay.
That's it. Robert Carter had the basketball, and though he was on his backside, the shot clock, once he secures the basketball, that's when the shot clock's supposed to start, I believe.
And Nagy has worn a frustrated look on his face over the last couple of minutes. Some of that with his players, and some having to do with the officiating.
He's still upset over Melo Trimble getting those 2 free throws when he felt like his player was playing good defense.
They'll put 11 seconds on the shot clock.
It's a great tie, though, isn't it?
It's
really good neck wear.
Nagy again so candid, talking about having to really learn how to coach all over again after they transitioned from Division II to Division I.
Yep. Look, and the Summit League's gotten very difficult. The travel's obviously a bear from Denver all the way to taking on Oral Roberts in Tulsa. The talent is very good. Nebraska, Omaha, former Division II rivals, now a Summit League rival. Of course, North Dakota State. They battled for all the Dakotas in the Summit League Championship.
Knocked off their rivals to win the Summit League for a second time in 3 years, and here they are trying to pull the opening round upset. This is Trimble. Fires a 3. No good. Rebound Dom. $1:50 remaining. Jackrabbits have 2 timeouts, and boy, that's the last thing that Mark Turgeon wanted.
Yeah, they were running a little play called chop that Kansas likes to run. They were running a play for a 3-point shot, and Melo Trimble read the play, but just got his hands in the cookie jar.
1-1 here for DeAndre Parks. We mentioned Parks from Flint. His mother, Lizanda, back home watching this game. He's got 2 young brothers, both of whom sadly have been affected by the water crisis in Flint. His 3-year-old baby brother, Jakai, sadly developing a speech impediment. Just in the last few weeks and months has been able to start to get his words together. Just a tragic story. So many stories in Flint with the water situation there. Says he's playing for his brothers. And certainly his mother watching this game back home. Parks has been one of the catalysts. 19 points to lead the Jackrabbits back. It is a 5-point game with 1:45 remaining.
Now, if Melo Trimble gets the basketball, and it's hard to deny him the ball in the full court, I would double him every time he gets it and never let him get it back when he passes. Make somebody else beat you off the dribble for Maryland.
Suleiman trying to dribble into daylight.
So now they made Suleiman work, and he's still kind of a shaky ball handler. Now, if you're Melo Trimble, you let him pass the basketball, and then you don't want to get it back.
Trimble had it poked away. Lehman the loose ball. 6 to shoot. This is Carter. Bottled up by Dom. Spins, turns. A shot clock violation as Carter unable to draw a rim.
And by design, South Dakota State pressuring so that Maryland really doesn't have time to get into their offense, to get in their flow. And Mike Dom, the redshirt freshman, doing a great job against Robert Carter, not just not fouling, but forcing him to catch the ball that far off the block.
Dom, a kid really who perfectly symbolizes this team. Overlooked by all the big collegiate programs in that region of the country. Trying to lead the Jackrabbits to an upset. Marshall fouled on a 3.
That's his 5th.
Melo Trimble has fouled out in a double dose of bad news for the Terps.
And this is where, if you're a South Dakota State fan, you were so upset over how tight the officiating was when Melo Trimble got the call. There was a tight call the last time down, and then Melo Trimble just gets caught. What are you doing? Even if he blocked the shot and didn't hit his wrist, which he didn't, that's a foul. But even if he blocks it, it's not worth it. Maryland can't lose if he's on the floor. Now, Melo Trimble out of the game. This thing is very much in doubt.
Now, we should point out, as Trimble is done with 19, only 4 points in the second half. But when he was out for that long stretch earlier in the half, it was Lehman and Nickens hitting a bunch of threes.
And
how did they fare here with him done for the game?
And Mark Turgeon went into a little victory lap. He took Lehman out. They hugged each other. 7 minutes and change to go. Everybody felt good. And I thought he got caught with a couple bad lineups. And all of a sudden, the Jackrabbits got hot. By the time he got everybody back in, they lost momentum. And now their best player and their only true ball handler has fouled out for this game.
Marshall, the senior, 76% free throw shooter.
Now, if you're South Dakota State, you have to make the second free throw, set up your pressure, but you don't want to foul. Make Maryland make a shot. Don't give them any free looks at the basket.
What about offensive strategy for the Terps with Trimble on the bench?
The first thing is all hands on deck. Everybody has to come and handle the basketball. You might want to use Jake Lehman because he'll have a smaller player against him. He can see over the defense.
George Marshall with all 15 of his points since halftime. Maryland at this end has missed 5 of its last 6 shots. Boy, it's been one of those days in the NCAA tournament. How does this one end up? Whistle blown off the ball. Boy, how about this call? South Dakota State can't believe it. It's on Marshall, and he has fouled out.
So Marshall knows the flex pick is coming. He tries to beat his man to the spot. Are you kidding me?
Or you talk about
kidding?
Tough
Are you
call.
kidding? Tough? What are we doing here? Let the players play basketball at the end of a game. Are we kidding each other? That is not worthy of calling a foul. And if you want to say time and score doesn't matter, no one in the world will agree with you. You don't call that foul.
Doug, listen, I'm with you. Hard to argue against that. Scott Nagy trying to maintain composure, and boy, you have to feel for a kid like Marshall, the 23-year-old senior, can only hope that his team has enough here to continue this push over the finish line. Here's Lehman, one of their better free throw shooters. Perfect on the first. Before that free throw, it had been a 24-8 run for South Dakota State.
Well, now if you're South Dakota State, down 3 or down 4, come down, get that ball moving the way it has been moving here the past 5 or 6 possessions. They'll probably get into one of their quick plays, but you don't have to take a 3. And you want to try and attack DeMonte Dodd, number 35 in the white. Whoever he's guarding, that's who you want to attack with a ball screen, because he can't recover to Dom and he can't help because he doesn't move his feet well enough laterally.
Timeout taken by Nagy and South Dakota State. Down 4 in the closing seconds in Spokane. Game reset. South Dakota State will have possession, down 4. But the bad news, George Marshall, their senior leader, has fouled out. Now DeAndre Parks, their other senior backcourt stud, will really be relied on here in the closing seconds.
Okay, so I want to attack DeMonte Dodd. That's my guy right there. That's my mark. Because he's guarding Mike Dahm, who's their leading scorer, who can also shoot threes, but he also really struggles to defend ball screens.
Let's see what Nagy has drawn up. This is Telling-Fusen out of Moffitt. Underneath Dahm. There he is going right at Dodd. That's the shot they wanted. The no. King is fouled. Smallest guy on the floor, getting his hands dirty, and a chance to cut it to 2. Foul charge to Nickens, a 2-shot foul.
And just a scrum under there, and they attacked Dodd, but they did so in the low post instead of making him guard on the perimeter.
King, not a very good free throw shooter, leaves a critical point at the line there.
The second one, look, they're both important, but the second one is the most important one, as Dodd is replaced by Carter, who's a better free throw shooter, better ball handler. The second one's more important because it allows you to set up your pressure.
Well, this kid's taken 1,000 free throws over the course of his life. None more with any more pressure than that. Able to hit. It is a 1-possession game. 24.4 ticks remaining. Suleiman up the floor for Lehman. It's the last guy they want to foul. Lehman better than 80% at the line.
And you want to foul Brantley, not just because of percentage, but also because of the time that he's been in the game. When you play very little, very difficult to come in and make 2 free throws.
Double bonus, so Lehman will shoot 2. There's Marshall, the senior. Just fouled out a moment ago, seconds after Melo Trimble had fouled out.
It's 13-6 to make a free throw. 15 to the backboard, 13-6 to make a free throw. That one was about, I'm going to say 12-9. The kind rolled and soft rims here in Spokane and those synthetic wrists in basketball.
Lehman, the senior, honorable mention, all Big Ten. Ties his career high with 27 points. Well, Mark said back in 2013, and look at Parks.
Fouled on the 3. This is the same play Kansas ran when Mario Chalmers hit a 3 to tie Memphis in the national championship game. Same play. So you come, it's supposed to be a handoff, and he's supposed to use that ball screen. Instead, Rashid Suleiman just tries to block the 3. He hits him on the arm. You don't need it. You're up 5. If he makes it, you're up 2, but the likelihood is you just challenge the shot and he'll miss it.
Parks, very good free throw shooter, as you can see. 19 points today. I wonder why coaches go gray as quickly as they do. Turgeon just could not believe what he just witnessed. Turned and immediately walked back to his bench. 1 possession game, 13.5 remaining. And keep in mind, both teams minus their lead guards. Marshall for South Dakota State, Trimble for Maryland, both fouling out.
They were up 18 with 13:59 to go in this game. In complete control.
Parks, Telling-Husen, King, Moffitt, and Dom
That's
for the
who you want.
Jackrabbits. Quick inbound, and that's the guy that they get. It's Jalen Brantley, a kid who had only taken 12 free throws before today. Biggest free throws this sophomore has taken in his collegiate career. It's on Telling-Husen, his third. 2 shots for Brantley. Winner of this game advances to Sunday's round of 32. Well, they will take on the 13th seeded Rainbows from Hawaii, and Brantley wasn't even close.
Now, if you're South Dakota State, they're going to run the exact same play they ran last time. Only you might not need, you got to make sure you rebound first. It's likely the same play coming. And it's that handoff into screens on each side. Watch for South Dakota State to run that exact same thing all the way through.
They do have 1 timeout left. You like not calling it here?
Yeah, well, you don't need a timeout. You have a play on.
Up the floor comes Moffitt, the junior, looking for someone. 5 seconds. It goes right through the hands of Parks. Suleiman dunks it. And that is how this one will end in Spokane. Heartbreak for the Jackrabbits and elation for Maryland as the Terrapins survive and advance to the round of 32.
Well, they didn't have their point guard, but they chose to use the walk-on Moffitt in order to get the ball to 2 scores, and that ends up ultimately being in their undoing. And credit Jalen Brantley. Look at the defense from Brantley. Yes, he missed the free throw, but he didn't pout about it, made the second free throw, and they get the steal and the dunk. Brantley comes through and doesn't foul. South Dakota State cost them themselves a chance of tying the game with a 3.
Suleiman atoning for that foul on a 3 just moments ago, as he and Maryland advance and will take on Iran Ganat and the Rainbow Warriors here on Sunday, as Hawaii will look to keep their dream bid going in Spokane. Turn now to TNT for Pittsburgh and Wisconsin, and TBS has Green Bay, Texas A&M at 7:20 Eastern Time. We'll send you to our studios after these messages and your local station.